And we're live.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Mindful Nuggets Podcast, where tonight we have another special guest, and you guys are going to want to stick around and hear who we have tonight. So, Mr. William, it's another Monday.
It went by fast this time,
It
literally.
really went
I
by
blinked
fast.
and it hit Monday again.
It really did. Absolutely. And for all of our listeners out there tonight, we hope that you are in a safe place. I am currently underneath a tornado warning. Currently, no alarms are going off, but I'm just going to give you a heads up. If I have to cut out, Mr. William and our guest will gladly take over. So, all right, Mr. William, tonight we are going to be talking about from drift to direction, filling the gaps in business and life. Why are we talking about this tonight?
Well, I think many of us get stuck and we don't know where to go or who to turn to. A lot of times we force ourselves to work our way through it, and that can get very costly. And a lot of times that's not in alignment with what God has prepared for us either on it. And so, really, I know from my own experience, I went through many years of business thinking I could do it on my own and thinking I had a resource or talking to people that might have a clue to go through it. But I ended up in short, making a long short, I had spent many college educations learning that I should have just paid for a mentor to help me grow and be that coach to look and see where the disconnects may be on it. And it can only just be in business, it can be in relationships, it can be anything because gaps exist, blind spots exist, and we just don't automatically have the knowledge and experience to go jump into something like that. We need guidance on it. So this kind of goes into our arc, basically, of going, understanding and flow and control. We're trying to control things, probably trying to control things that we shouldn't be in the first place. And we end up choking off what our fruit may be, and then versus opening up and let the flow happen. And that's a difficult thing to shift mindsets to go say, well, everything's about me. I control everything. Business can't exist without me and all those things, or even I know what to do in business, but I'm going to go ahead and jump into it and end up in some bad shape on it. So
Yeah.
I think, it'd be a great time to talk about that with Paula because he's got tremendous experience. 25 years, right, Paula, in the
Yeah.
business?
Yeah, a
Yeah,
little
and,
over
and filling
than that.
gaps.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, let's go ahead and let's introduce our guest since Mr. William leaked out who's with us tonight. So let's go
Yes,
ahead
I did. I couldn't wait.
and introduce Ms. Paula Washington is with us tonight, and Paula is a strategist. She's a speaker. She's an author of the Encore Playbook and Encore Reset Journal. Over 30 years advising women 50 and beyond. But I know she's going to tell us a little more about how it's not just about the women either, and how we are transitioning in business and growth. So, welcome, Miss Paula. Thank you so much. I know William kind of gave you away there, but hopefully we can recover here for just a second, and you can give us all the details of just exactly, what are women going through and business itself. Let's dive into this tonight. Let's just dive on in. William set the tone and I love it. So let's go for it.
Yeah, exactly. Let's do this.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure and a blessing to be with you both. And the world is going through a shift of upside down, right side up. And if you think about it, for myself, I went through those shifts early on, like the top five things that can happen to you. You lose your job, you relationship, marriage goes awry, your health, your business, and other things. All of those things happened to me in 1 year. So, yes.
Right.
And I realized that that plan I was raised, go to college, get married, have kids, work 30 years, out the window. Okay, because that wasn't for my generation going forward at the time. And what I've learned over all of the decades that I've been alive is that every time things fall apart or every time a shaking comes, it's because it's for redirection. So all of us are in that redirection space right now, getting true with ourselves, being honest with ourselves, owning our stuff, and leveraging what works and leaving behind what doesn't. Not trying to recreate or reinvent the wheel, not necessary. We're all experts in who we are as a person. We have confidence in knowing that we're brilliant. We are we have that ability to bounce back. We have that creativity. We also have an intuitiveness that, connected to the right people, we all start to build and grow forward. And the goal is to grow forward. It's not always to push forward, and it's not always to move forward, but it's to grow forward. Where are you now? And perhaps while you're here now, you're not ready for where you know you want to be or what you have seen you want to be, but you're being prepared for that, because the business can't go beyond your level of leadership. Your relationships will never expand beyond your level of being authentic with yourself and having that integrity to be honest with yourself. I wrote in my book, I was jumped out of the fire into the frying pan and then realized I was the fire and the frying pan. Okay. All of the
good,
crazy
yeah.
and the chaos I caused.
Right.
How about that? And now I can talk about it and laugh about it. And it's hilarious. Because why? Because I can look back at the dumb stuff I've done. And it's okay. Because that's why I'm here now. And that's why we're having these conversations.
Well, isn't that what all of us can do? We can look back and reflect upon all the, as you put it, the dumb stuff we've done, because we all have done that. And, that comes from us drifting. So let's kind of dive into that just a little bit. Why do, and Paul, I really want you to chime in on this, and take this topic. Why do people drift?
we
Why do
have
you find them drifting?
we have to drift. One, the reason being is, how do you build resilience? Unless you're resisting something, or unless you're put in a heated situation, you're not going to just do it because you have to. I mean, when everything's la-di-da, everything's going well, and everything's moving along smoothly, you're maturing possibly, and you're learning at your own control. But when you are drifting and it's quiet and you're praying and you're not hearing from God, people are talking to you and that's not quite what you need to know. And things aren't moving as they should. That's why we have to drift. I'll talk, the last downsized out of corporate, I was going through a divorce, have a child, move to a new state, all of these things at one time. Okay. So I decide, because I'm overqualified, let me go start the business, because I believe that's what the Lord was telling me to do. I go in to an organization to get a loan for my business. Found the lady that I was talking to was distressed. So I sat there and talked to her, find out what was wrong. I had the answer. I had a program for women in business. They contracted me, and that was the first opportunity I had and the first contract. So that let me see that the drifting between the different jobs, or the different downsizing, the loss of the marriage and the loss of this, that, and the other, led me to the beginning of what I would to know as my destiny, because I was in corporate, but my inheritance from my family on my father's side is entrepreneurship. I always wanted to do it, but my family's like, no, you have a child, you gotta do this, and this. Well, the whole world fell apart, might as well. You know what I'm saying? What do I got to lose at this point?
Let's talk about that, because you bring up a very good point. And William, you are so on top of this topic too. Let's talk about the system, because Paula just said it was, how we do things, right? You go to school.
It's generational drift transferred over.
Yes.
This is the way you're supposed to be, and this social pressure. This is your upcoming. If you unplanted from our society, went to another society, things might be different.
Absolutely.
But we're so ingrained with this. We have to go get the education. Let me give you a great example. Even if you don't go in business, not everybody's designed for business. You well know that. and it's best that you don't and find somebody that doesn't run business. But let's take the trades for example. They have you go to school. You're supposed to go to college because that is the way. Not everybody's geared for college, but it's forced. All right, so we go in. You might get a job at what you studied for. More than likely, you may not on it, and you may have to shift and do something else. But that whole model right there, you're completely out of alignment on it. Unless you're going in specifically that you know you're an engineer, doctor, or lawyer, or something that you need the discipline of going through college. Well, you just blew out a bunch of people that really weren't meant for that or structure for it, or a world that even exists today that requires that on it. Because we've gone from what would have been the industrial age into the digital age, information age, and that hadn't caught up yet on it. And so the trades, for example, weren't taught. And the reason why I know that, because there's a huge demand for people to know how to do the type of work I learned a long time ago how to do, because they don't have the skill set on it. And so you get these big gaps like that, and it's hard to fill. And all of a sudden, demand goes up, so does the price on it, because we allow that to happen, and we fall to the old model because that's what we believe we should do.
Why do
Because that
you
was taught.
believe, William, that the trades have fallen in people wanting to actually go into those fields? Why do you believe they've diminished to that level?
And it wasn't valued. I mean, the programming was you shouldn't do it. It's not offered. There's no apprenticeship on it hardly. There was very little. Take a diesel mechanic, for example. They're well paid on it, but diesel's a big business. But it's not offered at school level very much unless you go into the college and trade into like diesel mechanics. But like your electricians, your carpenters and things like that. Electrician, for example, has to be mentored as an apprenticeship for so many years, and that somebody has to sign off on the work before they do it. Unless you're going to like, in our world, Oak Ridge or TVA or somebody that's a workforce that will train you like that. Coming out of college, they don't. It's been missing for so long, and nor do they realize it's available to it. Now schools are starting to teach that now in high school, which it was doing when I was growing up. Those things were available back then. You had shop, you had carpentry, you had drafting, and all those different things. There was I think probably about 30 years that no, we're don't send people to college. They need a college education. And so that's thrown into everybody's head, and this is the output. So we got to look at the system, which is the input. The input says you need to do this in order to get an output for this, but that system is not designed for that anymore. It's not the
Let's talk
platform
about
you
that
need.
because Paula has a very interesting history with her family. And Paula, would you like to elaborate just a little bit on how the school, going to school, going to college, how that really came about for you versus what William just spoke upon, and how it was looked upon when he was in that era?
One more thing.
Yes, and I want to share two things with that. One, with the trades, which I respect highly. One of my mentors, who was the director of a very large university, said, Paula, get certifications because in what you do, that's going to help you moving forward. Okay, secondly, all of my after school programs were vocational. And all of the schools were vocational schools. They were career centers and vocational centers. And all of my students, they used to get a salary to do whatever it was they were learning to do in the entrepreneur program in New York and here in Georgia. So they were very highly encouraged to do that because 80% of the students in education are not on the professional side. They're more entrepreneurial or the trades. So that was encouraged. Not sure your experience or what have you, but that was encouraged. And that's what I encourage my students and the students that I work with for that. And it was highly respected and rewarded. Secondly, as far as education goes, my great grandmother went to college in 1894. She graduated.
That's awesome.
And she graduated cum laude at that. And that was when we weren't supposed to be in college. And then women were definitely not supposed to be going. And so that was a barrier of entry to keep our culture ignorant. But yet her parents paid for her to go and she went. And her daughter went to Juilliard and became a concert pianist and then a real estate broker in New York because her parents couldn't purchase their home because of their race. And so their attorney bought it. And so she sold homes to people in neighborhoods that would not normally be able to live in certain neighborhoods because of what happened with her parents. And my mom, she's getting promoted from the corporate in a bank into a branch, and she happens to be the only female manager in that branch. Now she's considered a double minority because she's the only woman in management, and then she's the only woman. The only other women are tellers and secretaries. So when you're looking at generational inheritance, I'm a continuation of the education side of it, and I'm also a continuation of the entrepreneurial side of it. And so putting that together, my journey was very unique and eclectic, to say the least, and many times catastrophic and crazy. And I didn't really understand the value of what I was carrying until I got at this stage in my life, where I could put it all and piece it all together, you know. And so when we're looking at where we came from and why we came from there, let's take that, package it, leverage it for where we're moving forward to. Now, yes, I didn't go back and get my MBA until I was 50 in international business. Then I was going through cancer and in 53, 54, whatever it was. And I went back and got a master's in organizational leadership to test out a thesis for the business strategy I'm doing now, which was published in an academic educational journal. So that's my inheritance on the education side and on the business entrepreneurial side. And so being in business, in corporate, 20 years training and development, and then being on my own for over 25 years, now that coming together, I'm living my best life at this stage. It wasn't for when I was younger. When I went back to get my master's at 50, it was the best thing I could ever do because I understood life, I understood business, and I understood what I could do with the education and how it brought me current in some things that I wasn't aware of and how to leverage it. Now, I didn't need it when I was younger. I got a bachelor's in marketing, and I used it in my business. I never used it on the job, but I used it. See what I'm saying? So it doesn't matter. It may not be when you go and you graduate. It might be 20, 30 years later, but the knowledge is there. The credentials are there to get paid because I'm at a premium and you have to pay me because I put the time in and that's it. And everyone who puts time in, puts everything that they have into what they're doing, deserve to get paid. A man is worthy of his hire. Boom. That's it. That's the word. You got to pay for it. So when we look at the whole life path of a person, we can't judge it when they're young. We can't judge it when they're middle age because middle age is no longer what it used to be. Middle age
That's
used
so
to be.
true.
Yeah, middle age now is in its 60s and not in the 40s like it used to be.
Right.
So we can't judge that. But the word does say your latter days are better than your former. And if you look at everyone that was truly successful, it wasn't until they hit after 50 in their 60s that they got there. Because why? It all makes sense now. I can tell you it all makes sense. All of this stuff makes sense. But along the journeys in those decades are the shaping decades. And my
the pieces of your puzzle.
Yes, they're the pieces of the puzzle, and they are connecting and converging and teaching you how to leverage and how to be who you are unapologetically, giving you confidence, giving you courage, giving you hope and trust and belief in yourself and resilience. I mean, in 2020, me and my first cousin lost our last parent. We had 6 memorial services for every month for 6 months. You know what I'm saying? And so the resilience that we all had to walk through was what we thought at that moment unbearable. But look at here I am today. And I was power of attorney for my family at 35. My dad says, "Oh, you're going to make the end of life decisions for the family, and we're going on a cruise. We'll see you when we get back." Boom. You know what I'm saying? Okay.
All right. Wow.
All right. But what I'm saying to you is life is weighty, but as we go through it and as we grow through it, it gets lighter and lighter because we let go of the baggage.
That's key right there. A lot of times we spend avoiding to go through it.
Right.
We figure out ways to go around it, and it doesn't work.
The gold is in the gap.
Mm-hmm.
That's my new program. The gold is in the gap. It's in between who you were, who you're becoming. And if you walk through that journey, you're going to get the greatest gold you've ever had so that you can stand in the place that you belong.
Okay, well, hold that thought for a moment. So, all right, everyone, if you're just tuning in, we have Ms. Paula Washington with us tonight, and we are talking on our title of From Drift to Direction, Filling the Gaps in Business and Life. So, Paula's with us tonight, Mr. Williams with us tonight, and we're going to dive in a little further of the gap. But before we do that, please make sure that you're going and subscribing here on YouTube. Share us out and make sure you're in our comments, letting us know your thoughts and give us some feedback. So coming back to Paula, what are the gaps? So many people are hearing this word more and more today. What does that mean?
Well, when you think about the gaps in life, it's the experiences that you have. It is the lack of things that happen. It is the traumas and triumphs all at one time. So when you look at, you're in your 20s, you're discovering everything. So you don't really have a clue. You're having a good time, you're discovering life. In your 30s, you become more effective and productive. Then in your 40s is the first gap because now you're in a place of liberation. What you knew before no longer satisfies you because you're at a place of maturity. But at the same time, you're going somewhere else and you're not quite sure what's getting ready to happen. Now, depending on whether you have children and this age of your children determines how much freedom or that you have or not. So now there's a gap. You're on a job. You and your husband are working, you're carrying your family, or you might be a single parent or a single individual. And now you, depending on the financial resources in the home, there's a gap. Mm-hmm. Given health insurance is extremely high for a family of 4 or 5 or 6 or whatever it is. And so both people have to work now where before maybe one could stay home and you could live on one income. There's a gap.
Those days are over.
There's a gap. And then there are things that just happen in life because they're going to happen. Right. And then, one loses a job, there's a gap. If you decide to run a business, you're going to have gaps based on the market. And how do you fluctuate between those gaps? You have emerging markets, you have other niche markets, and you have secondary and third and fourth revenue streams. You should have at least 5. And I teach on that whole thing. I got a whole teaching on the 5 revenue streams.
We'll tap into that, but I want to know, what are the most common blind spots that women face today in business?
They think they're not enough as a person.
Ooh.
They think they're not offering enough as a business owner. And they focus on the wrong thing and what everyone's doing with this AI and all these other things. And if they would just take that one thing that they're good at and work that one thing within that niche market they have, and then build out to the emerging markets around that, and then stack it in a way that you always have something you're working on. So you're working on your major market 80% of the time or 70% of the time, another 20%, you're building out those side markets. And so then now you have a 10% left that you can look to expand in other areas. But there is a way to strategically and systematically do that. And in my Encore framework, Encore stands for Exit with Intention, Navigate the New. C is for Commit, Communicate, equal authentic connections. And then O is for opportunities. Most people don't recognize them, seize them, or create them. They're looking at everything that's going wrong in the world and not looking at, well, guess what? I got a solution. Don't you think you need to put
Exactly.
it together? Okay, let's
That
get
is
going.
so
What are you
true.
whining for? Get it
So true.
together. Okay.
Yeah.
And then this isn't the first time that we've seen catastrophes. It might be the first time you've seen this level of catastrophe, but it's the greatest time for innovation. R is for relevance. You have to be relevant in who you are as a person, in what you're offering, and then make and build that around your family and your lifestyle. Then E is for excellence, your personal trademark. What are you the go-to person for? Stick to the one thing that you're great at and then build out on that. So now we have encore. So you're going to have an encore in your 40s. You're going to have encore in your 50s. You're going to have encore in 60s, 70s. You're always going to have encore. There's always going to be another standing ovation.
I actually like the way you're looking at that, because that's number one, that's a very positive direction. Number two, it also gets people thinking, which I hope everyone out here is really listening right now. But I'm thinking, okay, I'm going into my mid to late 50s. So what's my next encore going to be at this point?
Isn't that fun? It's
That's where I'm
exciting.
going. Yeah,
Exactly. And this is where you get to do it on your own terms. You see,
absolutely.
when I was living through it, some of the times it wasn't that thrilling. And then when I got up to the other side of things, I realized that one of my mentors, I was in my late 30s and I was going through a lot of different stuff. Anyway, she said, Paula, you're being prepared for 40. Really? Yeah, because this is what you're going to experience. Really? So I created The Power of Decades, a timeline from 20 to 90 of what the expectations, things that are naturally going to occur in those decades, how to prepare for them, and we back into it. So if you're a business owner, we're going to back into the overall economics you want to build for that business, whether you're going to sell it, transfer it, or whatever you're going to do. If you want that career, we're going to build in the encore careers and look at when you want to exit. If you are in business, you or even working, you have to have an exit strategy for everything. In risk management, we do. As business people, we know about exit strategies for every project. Well, you better have one for your life. You better have one for your relationships, and you better have one for your business and projects that are not bringing you money. Get rid of them, put them aside. It's not going to happen. It's like a dress that's too small. It ain't going to fit. Okay, so let it go. Just let it go. And now you're going to 55. You get to celebrate. 5 and 5 is 10. 5 is grace. You got double grace going on. Let's do this thing. Whatever it is that's in your heart that makes you sing and makes you happy, go for it. Because the best thing that can happen, you will see yourself succeed in a way you never saw it before. And how I'm saying this from a positive perspective, because I had to walk through it.
Right. Absolutely.
And it was dark at the time because I was the only one doing it. You know, a couple of my mentors said, Paula, you're ahead of your time. I said, yeah, well, what's that doing for me now? You know, I remember one time I was so distraught. I wanted to get a job so bad, right? So I go to one of them who has the ability to get me a job anywhere. And what does he do? He says, oh, the lady down in HR needs some help. Go down there and help her. But you need to talk to her first. I said, about what? She'll tell you what's going on with her. Go down there and tell her I sent you. So I'm sitting there, I'm going down the hall. We're not talking about what I thought we was talking about. She had some personal things going on. I ended up being down there for about an hour and a half. I gave her a whole outline of what she could do, shared with her, prayed for her, and then came back down. And he looked at me, started laughing. Because he knew. He said, Paul, ain't nobody giving you a job because you don't want to work. You just want the money. And I was,
oh, my.
He said, and I needed you to see what you really want to do that's in your heart. And so he says, okay, make an appointment next month and come back and tell me what you did. And that was the end of it.
So, oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wild stuff, right?
Absolutely. I mean,
so much. It's real. That's a revelation of who you truly are on the inside. That's where people. That's a big gap. Yes. Right there. It's finding out what it is that you were. I call it your burden that you're supposed to receive, because burden is a designed load that you're supposed to carry. God created you to carry. It's supposed to be light. It's light in Him. But we take on so many different burdens, we get like dredged down into the dirt. And the one that we're meant to carry, we may not ever find it. And it really takes some time to be around some people to observe and see what really it is that you're supposed to be and carry through life. What lights you up, what you're meant to be.
Okay, so I got a question for both of you. What gaps actually matter most first? Is it a mindset, a system, money, or clarity? Which one matters?
Clarity. I'm
Clarity.
sorry.
Clarity, yeah,
No,
Clarity.
no, that's good. Clarity. What'd you say?
Clarity is the
Mhm.
is the number one.
Okay.
Because when you are clear, you have an understanding. Then the
Mhm.
knowledge you have, you can apply. You can't apply the knowledge until you're clear about your direction. Because when, especially women, when we don't understand something, forget it. You're not going to move us. We're going to keep talking and talking in circles until we figure it out. We're going to wear ourselves out, and the natural human being is going to overthink and work themselves nuts and be frustrated and aggravated, try all these different things, jump through all these different hoops, waste all this money, and then only to find out if they had just gotten quiet and sat it down for a minute or two and listened to some good counsel or their own intuition and their own spirit, how about they would have had the answer?
That's good. That's good.
Walking around in the fog.
Yes, in a
Mm-hmm.
fog. In a fog. Oh, and it's the fog we, that's why I said a frying pan on the fire.
Mm-hmm.
It's the crazy and the chaos we create until we realize how to step back. Like, it's funny, this morning I had a presentation I was working on and I was frustrated with it, and and then all of a sudden I got quiet. What's your creative process? It just came to that question came in my mind. Oh, you're frustrated because it's not the direction. So change the direction. I did. Boom. Finished it. Done. When we get quiet.
Hmm.
Now, not everybody may not hear like I hear. Sometimes it's watching a movie. Sometimes it's just out walking in nature and you see the birds or whatever it is. However you hear or you see things, yield to that.
Oh, wow. Okay, so sometimes success isn't about adding more, it's about returning to what matters most. Let's talk about the values, then let's talk about confidence, let's get into the identity beyond the performance, and let's talk about the purpose-driven plan. So let's just kind of dive into all this, into the re-anchoring of the real truth here. Where would you
Michelle,
like to?
if you don't mind, I want to point out a couple of things she said. One, back into
Absolutely,
things.
absolutely.
I want to highlight and make sure people get, because this is wisdom that was imparted that most of us miss early on,
Mm-hmm.
especially. One, exit strategy. A lot of people go in business don't even think of an exit strategy, especially small business. That's the last thing on their mind. Okay. And then when they're in their 30s and 40s, they're just hammering. The business owns them. They don't lead the business. And then they get to 50 and 60, they're burnt out. And there's still no exit plan. There's no system in place. It's chaos. And nobody wants to
So
buy it.
true.
You can't
So
exit
true.
out of it. So when she's saying this, listen to her, think of the end in mind, back into things so it's structured, built. Build it from wisdom and knowledge and guidance. And don't build it because I have an intuition. I can do these things great. And I'll just throw spaghetti in the wall till I figure it out. And that's where you
And
really
that's
get
a
burned
great
out.
point because, and this is something that people I hope are hearing tonight, especially, all this wisdom that Paula is sharing with everyone tonight. I hope everybody's paying really good attention because everyone needs a coach. I need a coach.
Yes. Everybody
I have
needs
three.
somebody. Yeah,
So,
I have
she's
three
got three.
advisors. I have
and,
three advisors in
But
different
she's matured to
categories.
where she's got a
right.
board. She's got a
Well,
board.
and
What
that
she's got.
that's even better, because again, that is years of wisdom from those individuals who have walked it, talked it, breathed it, ate it. They know, just like Paul is very much sharing here. I mean, I'm hearing so many years of experience here, it's got me questioning, okay, do I have my self in place in the right spot? You know,
She's
do I have an
available for
exit
hire.
strategy or do I not? You know? Right. So I want everyone to, kind of hear what's being said tonight. And, you bring up some very valid points,
Well,
William.
it's also law lid. She spoke about law lid. You can only go
You
so far
did.
what you know. And don't ever lean on your own understanding. The
Mm-mm.
Bible clearly says don't. That leads to falling very quickly on it. And I'm living testament of that. I've had a lot of folly going through leaning on my own wisdom. But you have that lid that you can't go past because you've never been past it. You have to be
Yeah,
shown.
that's right. That's absolutely right. So a lot of people lose confidence in the process. Again, a coach. You need a coach, right? You've got to have somebody. I've got a coach. Paula's got three of them. So, uh,
Yeah.
where
And it,
where did where did they pick you up? Where do they pick you up whenever you're in this, maybe a slump, maybe your confidence isn't so high. I mean, let's talk about that. How do you re-anchor? How do they re-anchor you?
well, I have three advisors now. Now, when I first started growing through and up through myself, I've always had mentors. So that wasn't something that was new to me. I always had mentors in different ways. I didn't always listen to them because I knew everything.
Right.
I just was all of that. I was ahead of my time. So I knew what I was doing. And then, you shipwreck a couple of times, you lose a lot of money, you go around in circles, and a couple of things, you fail more than you succeed. I failed more in my life than I've succeeded, but the
Mhm.
successes were so huge. I'm sitting here talking to you now. But the failures were excellent because it was the wrong strategy. I wasn't a failure. The strategies were incorrect. I lost confidence in deals that didn't go through. I lost confidence in jobs that I lost. I lost confidence in relationships that went awry. Why? They were not the ones for me, but I had to go through the separation processes to learn what the best was for me. I was settling for less than best. And then I had to become the best to reap the rewards I should be receiving based on the plan for my life. Now, that sounds wonderful. It sounds flowery, as beautiful as your background. But baby, when you got to walk that thing out, it is not pretty. I'm here to tell you right now.
That's true. That's
And
true.
so how did I gain confidence? By not having confidence, by learning over the years. I was talking to one of my clients the other day, and I said to her, "You have confidence to be who you are today based on your history from birth to today. You're intelligent. You know that you are you have ingenuity. You're creative. You know what you know how to do. But this thing that you're attempting, you've never done, and it's a new idea, and you're not supposed to have confidence for it. You're not supposed to have courage for it because you haven't done it. But you have courage and confidence in who you are, and that is enough to take this new ball or this new idea and run with it. Along the way, make sure you put those parameters in there, the checkpoints, to make sure that this risk is worth it. And if it's not worth it, you know when you're going to back out of it. Because
Mhm.
timing is key. Many times I had these great ideas and I knew it was what I was supposed to do, but it was wrong time. You know how you go after deals and stuff like that, and you write these proposals and stuff, and everybody else gets them and you don't get them. And maybe a couple of years later, you get that same opportunity again. You go pull that proposal out, boom, 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 it's done. You know what I mean? So that's how life is. It doesn't always happen right away. And you have to understand timing. That is your friend. Less is always more.
Mhm.
Zip it and talk less and listen more. And one step at a time. And be happy, grateful, and thankful for what you do well and how you produce. That is going to give you confidence to stand in arenas and places that you never thought you would be. You have no experience for, but you know who you are.
That's grounding.
Mm. Mm-mm-mm. Boy,
That's
that was
going from
good. I
that's
hope.
what we're talking about mask. People
Yeah.
put on the mask. And then
Yeah.
when
Mhm.
you take off the mask and you know who you are, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't, because after my divorce, for a whole year, I was nobody but Melody's mom. I wasn't VP of this. I wasn't Mrs. So-and-so. I wasn't this. I dropped out of everything and everyone for a whole year. I was just my daughter's mom. That was it. And if you want to talk about stripping your pride and identity, that was the best time, even though it was the worst of times.
Mm-hmm.
Every loss gives you the greatest gain, and you learn to smile through your tears because loss gives you a gift.
Yes.
When we lost when we lost all our last parent, okay, the 89 and 97, so we're all in our 60s now. So they gave us the greatest gift that they could ever give us, which is the baton and life. Now
Oh,
we're the
that's
ones got to
good.
answer the question.
That's
Yeah,
so
no
good
more.
that, your parents, your grandparents, they gave you the baton to, move forward, and that absolutely, that was awesome. That is so awesome. So, let's talk about the flow, okay? Because you talked about the confidence to get started, and they're taking the risk. So where do we go from here? How do we structure this? How does this begin? Where should someone begin?
Well, I gave you the link for the Golden Gap Compass.
You did.
And I created this Gold is in the Gap methodology to help people measure where they are, what they're ready for, and what their next will look like. Whether you're emerging, whether you're an initiator, where you are on your alchemist walk. And the alchemist walk is the ultimate level of mastery at that stage in your life. Doesn't mean you are, you don't have a place to grow, but you're on your way up there. So in that compass, it asks you questions and it doesn't measure who you are or what all those numbers and all that. That doesn't mean anything. It helps you identify where you are and where you're going to. And then, like when I use the Encore framework, that helps you align all of that with a strategy to package it so that every decade you have something to do.
Did
Every
you say every
year,
decade? Every
every,
decade?
yes, every
Okay.
decade you've got something to do. Like
Okay.
I already know what I'm going to be doing in my 80s and 70s and all of this. It's not a question. When I was in my 40s, I knew I would be doing this, but I didn't know what it was going to look like, but I knew what I had to have in place to do it. You see what I'm saying? You're
I
in your
do.
50s now. You're going to be going to your 60s, but between now and 59, it's a great time because you have an opportunity to plan. Now, this is the key. According to the McKinsey report, 2025, there's going to be $20.7 trillion of monies available, managed funds that women will be in control of between now in 2030 in the
That's
US and
interesting
Europe.
to
This
hear.
is a good transfer. I've read that. This is a
Yes,
transference of wealth
it's
that's
the
going
wealth
on to
transfer.
women.
And
Yeah.
Yeah.
so now there's $10.7 trillion of unmanaged funds. And my goal is to prepare as many women in business who want to talk to me to get in alignment to be in position for the conversation so you can be in line if you get a, a quarter of 1%. It don't matter how much you get out of the 10. Just get something. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Have a
Absolutely.
goal that you can never achieve on your own.
Mm.
$10.7 trillion is a lot. But
Yeah.
I have had businesses over the years in my programs. One in particular, she had an entertainment company, and it's in my book. And I do the case studies in there. And she happened to win the business plan competition. Long story short, 15 years later, her company is up for 7-figure investments, where they're coming to her to want to invest in her company for what she does. Other individuals, I help position them for the same thing, for the big ticket contracts that they normally wouldn't have gotten. Financial planners, insurances, all different kinds of people that I've worked with over the years. I've helped them get in those positions to be in those rooms or to be in a place where the conversation was there and they could add value and boom, the deal is there. And then they come back and I help them plan out the deal. We do the presentation, da, da, da. But what I'm saying is, if I can help, let's just say 1% of the women that I work with get in the line for that 10.7, we all win.
And that's true. That is true.
There's a bunch that was just said there too. One, there's vision. There's vision past where you are. And a lot of
Right.
people don't have that ability to see and have that vision to see what's going on further on in your life. And that's very important because in order for you to get there, you got to be able to see it, have it in there before it's real. All right. And the other thing is not only the vision, but the mission. Her mission is to help them get placed, women get placed, even if it's just a small percent of that is a lot of money on it. And more importantly, it's the getting into the season to bear fruit.
Right.
Is where the vine is everything is within you already. It's given to you by God, and He is the vine. His Father is the vine dresser. We're the branch. We so often try to be the vine and think we're the vine, and we get so confused and messed up. That's where we fall. The branch falls off. We'll hopefully get reattached. But the thing is, everything flows through you.
That's so true. I mean, it
There's a
really
lady
is.
said,
You know?
hopefully get reattached.
Right. We have to find a way to reattach.
Maybe we'll get a Band-Aid or something.
If somebody pulls back up there, we'll get somebody to reattach us because a lot of times we fall off and we're.
Oh, who are you telling?
Hey, well, now hold on. I just learned that you can actually take a piece off of one apple tree and put it into another tree that's already growing, and you can tape it on there and it will root into that. How funny is it's an apple tree too? Apple.
Michelle, that's
Bible,
why you're
apple.
here, so you reattach the branches to ones that have fallen off and with
That's
their
right.
health, so they can get healthy again. Because without the vine, you're going to dry up and wither.
That's
All
right. That's
So-
right. That's
But the
right.
thing is, the branch is already there. The work's already done. It's already done, folks. But you got to be the branch, and you got to grow, and you got to get ready for that fruit to bear. That's your
right.
job. All right, you got to do the work, but you're not the vine. Don't ever pretend to be the vine,
No.
ever. And this is what she's talking about in a nutshell: is you get prepared, you do the work, you get your nose bloody because it's going to get bloody. There's no ifs, ands, and outs, and you don't have to walk through those fires. And that's the refinement that you go through. But there is going to be a time, there's going to be fruit. And that's what you got to be joyful about. It's not today, it's not tomorrow, it's when that fruit comes and you're ready to bear it.
Exactly.
That's so true. That's so true. And you know, let's go back. Let's back up just for a few moments because what we're talking about is creating those habits. Once you've sat down and you have built the program, you know, you connect with Paula and she gets you in alignment to, you know, get you on the right road. She's also going to help you create sustainable habits. So why don't you go through some of that with us, Paula? Kind of let everybody
I
know.
think before we say habits, I think we need to find out who we are first, our identity.
Well, we should be
Because
finding. I
we
mean,
can
we've been
always
talking about this
teach
for
people.
weeks.
Yeah, we can always teach people habits, but those habits may not be in alignment to who you are naturally, because you might be misaligned. You might be meant to do one thing, but you're attempting to do another, and you're
Well, and
developing habits for
speaking of
that. Now, there's some
misalignment,
common ones,
right?
but
And I mean, a misalignment, Paula. You spoke to William and I about some people aren't meant to be entrepreneurs,
Right.
and
I have an
there's a
assessment.
way.
Yeah, I have an assessment I created many years ago. I worked for a major bank, and they were doing a large layoff of their six-figure high consultants that have been working 20 and 30 years. Now, you know, these are men that have been on the road their whole life. So now they are being displaced. Okay, so the money isn't the issue. That's not the gap. The age is a gap. The time away from home and now coming home full time, and the family doesn't know them, nor do they care. That's a gap. And now this gentleman has to figure out who he is now without the identity of his profession, because he tied his identity to what he did versus who he was as a person. And that is the key to understanding who you are. I use a wheel in women. Women, we speak in circles. We can touch 7 different things, all of our roles at one time, and still be focused on who we are. However, if you don't build and nurture the core of who you are as a person, you will get sucked into the roles and believe that is your identity. I was talking with the CEO about 2 months ago, and he runs 4 or 5 different companies, and he has CEOs under him. And he was caught up in their stuff and forgot about who he was. And now his family life is affected and everything else is affected by it. So we started talking, and I gave him a tool and various other things. And then he was getting ready to go for a deal that day and some other stuff that was going on. And we walked through all of that, and he let me know the deal went through. And then when he came back, he actually did the work. Hello, do the work. Hello, fill out the paperwork.
Right.
Answer the hard questions. Can we do that? Okay, he actually did that. He came back with a plan. He looked 100% better, and he was off to the races. Why? Because he really wanted change.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it right there.
Yeah.
And he didn't have any pride in the way. He was exhausted
Even
because he
better.
wore himself out.
Oh, she hit another key point. No
Mhm.
pride in the way. He was ready to change. His pride wasn't going to stand in the way. He was going to make every effort to make this change happen. That's
Because he
important.
wore himself out.
Yeah.
He
That's
wa-
the
you
point of
know,
being humble. That's
Yeah.
when you surrender right
Exactly. There's your surrender point.
there. Mhm.
And we all
That's
get there.
good.
Because you
Yeah.
guess what? You're going to go around the mountain 4 or 5 times.
I was
Maybe
going to
even
say
10 times.
sometimes we get
You
there a
might
hard
even
way.
build a trench around that mountain. Because guess what? You ain't getting off that wheel until you get the lesson. How about that? And it
That's
gets
right.
harder
That's how it works.
each
So
time.
true. So
Ask me, I
true.
know.
Mhm.
Amen. Amen. That's how that works. You know, God's gonna keep putting you through what you need to go through in order to
Well, you
learn
know,
that lesson.
it
before
took
you
me
get
40
to the
years
point.
in the wilderness to figure it out that
Yeah.
there was a path away that wasn't that far, but I had to beat myself to the ground and fall down and just be capitulated because Nuthead thinks he was a vine over here, and the branch literally fell off.
You thought
And
you
God
could go
said,
right back
God,
and attach.
God said, "Are you finished now? Are you
Right.
ready to
Yeah.
listen?"
That's right.
Yeah.
That is
And we don't
right.
have any more strength left. And the only thing
Nope.
we can do is say yes, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yes,
Because
that's true.
I know I have
That
been
is
off the cliff
true.
myself.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, let's be mindful about everybody's time tonight. So before we close, Paula, we're gonna have to have you back because we've got to have some more conversations about this. Okay. We
I
got
would
some
love
more
to.
we got some more details that we need to actually speak upon. So we're going to have another show with Paula on. So make sure you're staying tuned when that's going to happen. And the only way you can do that is if you're subscribing to YouTube so that you know that that's going to happen in the very near future. But in closing tonight, before we actually close this out, Paula, how can everyone reach out to you? What's the best way?
They can reach out to me on LinkedIn, Paula Washington, what is it, /MBA on LinkedIn. They can actually go on my website and book a coffee chat. I have a free coffee chat for 20 minutes and we can connect that way. They can email me at hello@paulawashington.com. And they can call me at 404-512-3371.
Oh, that's awesome. And I will have all of Paula's information at the end of this podcast tonight. So make sure that you are ready to tap on that. Reach out to Paula and set that date. Get into that coffee chat. Have that coffee chat. I promise you that'll be the best coffee chat you've ever had. So don't miss that opportunity. So success is rarely one giant move. So Has anybody got something to say about that before we close? We got 6 minutes. Does
No,
somebody
I
want to
think
say
enough was
something?
said about that already.
All
Oh,
right.
you know what? I gave you the free link for the Golden Compass.
I'll put that in there.
Yeah, because they can take that and schedule an appointment. And if they take, that would be great if whoever's listening, just do the assessment. I'll get a copy back. You make an appointment.
No, that's
There's a link in
awesome.
there.
I
Mhm.
think I'm going to take the assessment. I've got
I
some
think you,
questions.
and then when you all come back, I'll be glad to talk to you all about it.
Ooh,
You
that'd
and
be
William.
even better. Oh,
Yeah,
there we go. There we
yeah.
go. All right. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us tonight on the Mindful Nuggets podcast. We will be back next week with another guest. So make sure you're subscribed to the Mindful Nuggets podcast right here on YouTube. Miss Paula, thank you so much from the bottom of my
Yes,
heart
ma'am.
for saying yes. I know it was
Aw.
last minute and you just jumped right in and said, yes, I'll be a part of that. And you fit right into everything that we're doing here at Mindful Nuggets. And I cannot say enough thank yous and appreciate you so much. So thank you for being here tonight and being with us here at Mindful Nuggets. Mr. William?
Yes, no, yeah. Everybody learned something tonight if you had your ears open. Seriously. There's a
A ton of
lot
nuggets
given.
tonight.
We all of us learned something tonight, and I'm very grateful and thankful for this. It's very rare that you get a high level podcast with this much information and experience that can actually lead a person from I don't know who I am. I have a gift. I have the ability and a way to build something in their life. One thing I want to say is usually in the workforce, there's the big gap, if you will, especially recently, is you're on a fixed amount of income. And it's only gone up about 2x over the past, 10 years or so. Okay. Well, real estate's gone 5 to 9x, groceries gone up 5x, gas has gone up. There's a big gap. And so more and more people are looking for how do I fill that gap? And this is what Paula's specialty is. Before you go out of that job and jump ship and cause yourself a lot of stress, she is the gap filler. She can help you get from what it is that I can create to get it implemented to being in that business without killing yourself or learning or stepping on landmines you should have never stepped on in the first place if you just got the map to avoid it on it. So
That's
give
so
her a
true.
call.
That is true.
Thank
Give
you
her a
so
call.
much. Oh, I just love being with you all. I'm sending you hugs. I'm sending you hugs
Big hugs
because I
back.
think
Thank
you
you.
all are
Big
experts
hugs back.
and love you all too. I just love this conversation with all three of us, how we all blend together.
Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
beautiful.
Absolutely.
It was
Was,
really
like I
blessing. The
said.
spirit came through. So it was very blessing. Paula, thank you so much. It's been, like we said, it's been great and appreciative for you being here
Absolutely.
tonight.
Oh, you're welcome. I love
Okay.
it.
All right, everyone. So that was your nugget for tonight. We'll be back on Monday night, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. on the East Coast. And be looking for Paula. She's coming back because we got more we have to share.
Oh,
So
we got more to talk about.
absolutely. Everyone have a great night. Be safe. Be well.